What's going on, everyone? We are back again with another video. I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time. Instead of teaching something, just go over a question I get asked often, which is kind of like how I got into lifting and how I got into powerlifting. So I just threw a quick little presentation together with a little bit of a timeline, some photos, and we can kind of go over just the timeline of everything. So here's kind of the breakdown of starting out like everyone else. You just kind of like lift for fun. Either at home or in the gym, and then maybe you go straight into a sanctioned competition, or you start off with some non-sanctioned competitions and then go into sanctioned competitions. So this kind of just shows kind of 2009 and before was just kind of like recreational lifting, just doing like body weight stuff with friends, like push-ups and pull-ups, sit-ups, that kind of stuff. If there was any kind of weights at home, like we had like a heavy dumbbell with sand for the weight, that we just like try and like see how much we can curl with that kind of weight. And then it goes into, I think 2009. I couldn't find anything sooner than that. When I was at school at Florida State University, where I did a non-sanctioned bench competition they had every year. Then we hosted, as part of the Florida State Weightlifting Club, a non-sanctioned full powerlifting meet. So I did that, and then going into USAPL in 2011, all the way up to now. So we can kind of go step by step, and I'll kind of start with that non-sanctioned bench meet, which is something the school gym did once a year. They use the rising weight system, which used to be like the old system in powerlifting and still the system for weightlifting. And I always had a weak bench, so I was benching between 195 to 215 in those years, and then there'd be a lot of people that would be benching back then 275, 315, 365. So I was always like one of the first ones. I'd do my first attempt, then I usually had to like follow myself for the second attempt, so I get like 3 minutes rest, get to do my second attempt. I think maybe that year in 2009 there was someone else who was like doing their first attempt right before my third attempt, so at least I got them to go once, and then I got like a few minutes break and I got to do my third attempt. Then everyone else went, including the founder of the weightlifting club and squat science, Jordan Burke, was benching 345 to 365 then, so he was one of the last ones. I tried to find pictures. Here's one picture I found, a little bit blurry, of someone took for me October 2009. And you can see I'm wearing gloves, basically just laying down flat, putting my feet down flat, a little bit of a moderate grip. And I think that was something around 205 right there that I did. So after that, we can go into the 2010. I met Jordan through the FSU Weightlifting Club. Like I said, he founded the club, and I became a member of the club, and he decided to hold his own unsanctioned powerlifting meet. Florida State University would not let us host at their gym. For some reason, they didn't like us and they didn't like powerlifting. So he went to FAMU, and the guy running the gym at FAMU said, sure, you can host a competition here. So we had one station that was the squats, one station that was the bench, and one station that was deadlift. And we kind of would just go through, and they had spotters and judges and everything for each one. So I did that one. Here's a picture I can find of me squatting. You can see we have the judges there. We have the spotters. I mean, this guy's spotting. This guy's kind of watching. Not really spotting that well, and that's something like 245 on the bar. I think I missed 255 in that competition. I weighed like 170 pounds back then, November 2010. So that was like my first experience with going through a full powerlifting meet, squat, bench, and deadlift. No equipment. You see, no wrist wraps, no belt, no knee sleeves, whatever. Just got the Chuck Taylors on, and we just kind of maxed out whatever we could. From there, that's when we found out more about powerlifting, especially when our buddy, Dr. Michael Zordos, he was getting his PhD at Florida State University, found out about the weightlifting club and found out about me and Jordan. We all kind of like met each other. He became part of the club, kind of gave us programming. And he comes from Maryland, especially from the area where Matt and Susie are and SSPT gym is. So he's been to the gym. He knew Matt and Susie. He heard about USA Powerlifting, and they said, oh, well, we have meets in Florida. You guys should go as a team and compete at one of the meets down in Florida. So in 2011, February, we found a USA Powerlifting meet in the central part of Florida. So as a team, a bunch of us rented minivans, hotel room, and all that stuff like that, and went down and competed. So that was my first USA Powerlifting meet. Here you go, February 2011. You can see a picture of me with no beard. I weighed about 180 pounds here. And there's Jordan right next to me. He was one of the guys that competed. And you can see here on the far left, Damian Franzalia. If you know him, he's been around in USA powerlifting for about 30 years, multi-time national champion, world champion, world record holder, all that kind of stuff. And I pulled up my numbers. So here are my numbers. I did a 117.5 kilo squat, 92.5 kilo bench, and 177.5 kilo deadlift. That was obviously my best lift for a while, for a 387.5 kilo total, which is about 854 pounds. And back then we were competing often. So I did like 3 meets in 2011, and I was putting 100 pounds on my total each meet. So it was pretty great that competing like every 3 months and putting 100 pounds, going from 850 to 950 to 1050. And then in 2011, did only 2 meets because we were focusing on nationals. So we did our first USAPL nationals in 2012. What happened to be Raw Nationals in Killeen, Texas. So back then it was still growing. So we only had a 2-platform nationals back then. I forget how many warm-up platforms there were, but maybe 6, most maybe 8, whatever. It was much smaller venue, much smaller in size. Some big names were still there. So that was our first nationals. Is Jordan, Dr. Zordos, me, and our buddy Chris Myers, who's a part owner in the SNS gyms, and then Boynton Barbell and Broward Barbell. So that was our first experience going into a nationals and actually meeting Matt, Susie in person, and some of the other people that are still in USAPL today. Then from there, I did lots of other local meets in 2012, 13, 14, as well as I did Raw Nationals in 2013 when it was in Florida. And I did my first international competition in 2015, which was part of the North American Powerlifting Championship, part of the NAPF. So back then, Mike Zawalinski was the head coach for that team. And basically, if you just did any national meet, then he would be able to kind of get you on the team. So we had a push-pull nationals in Florida. So I did that. I got like first out of 2 people in my weight class. So he put me on the team for 2015, and I was already an assistant coach. So I went there, worked as a coach, and then my day kind of took the morning session off, and I competed in the afternoon and did my first international meet. So here's some pictures from Moose Jaw, Canada. You can see me here squatting. I think that looks like 210 kilos. I think that was the most I did at that competition. And then here you can see my buddy Mike Soy got first place, and I got 3rd out of 3 people. So it's interesting that in powerlifting you can go around and say, okay, I'm a national champion, but really I got first place out of 2 people at a push-pull nationals, and I can say I am a North American bronze medalist because I got 3rd place out of 3 people at the North American Championship in 2015. In 2015, I also had my best raw meet, kind of when I stopped doing my raw lifting. And so that was December 2015. I didn't do as well as I wanted at the North American Championship, mostly because I was coaching as well, so it kind of tires you out. So then I focused on, okay, let me do a local meet and just focus on hitting the numbers I want to hit. At that time, I was being coached by Bryce Lewis from The Strength Athlete, and Eric Bodhorn handled me at the meet, and it was my best training cycle and best meet. So I did a 222.5 kilo squat, 140 kilo bench press, and 260 kilo deadlift for that 622.5 kilo total. After that, I had a little bit left in the tank on squat, so I just kept squatting heavy for like a week or 2. And at the end of December 2015, before the new year, I hit a 500-pound squat in the gym. So that would be my gym PR, and then that's my best competition PR, 222.5. And for bench, I hit the 140 in the full meet. But in that push-pull nationals, in the push-pull meet, I did hit 142.5 kilo bench press. So those are my 2 bench press PRs. In the gym, I've done 325 pounds touch and go. After that, it was kind of switching to I wanted to try out equipped lifting. Since I already tried out full power raw and I tried out push-pull raw, I wanted to try some of the different divisions, get different experiences, which is beneficial as a referee, meet director, coach, all that kind of stuff like that, to try out all the different offerings that we have to see how it affects how you referee when it's a raw lift versus equipped lift, or how you kind of run a meet when it is raw lifters, or if you do have equipped lifters in there, or even just coaching when coaching someone into a push-pull meet or a bench-only meet might be different, and the temp selection might be different than a full power meet. So I'd already been testing out some equipment, and I got a bunch of stuff from people for free, fortunately. So then after that December 2015 meet, going into 2016, I was like, okay, let me just focus on the equip lifting, see what I can actually do. So I did my first meet in Florida, was the Southeastern USA Regionals, I believe, and the American Open were kind of combined into one meet. So I lifted in a loose TRX squat suit and a loose F6 bench shirt, just because I was focusing on testing it out and not going to the full max. So the squat, I believe, was 242.5, so I got 20 kilos on my squat. And the bench, I think the most I've ever done, because I've done some bench nationals as well, is 155, so I got about 15 kilos on the bench press. And deadlift at that American Open, I did 287.5, so about 27.5 kilos on the deadlift. I pulled more in that suit in the gym. I got as high as 302.5 kilos in the gym, but part of that was just I wasn't maxing out the squat and the bench in the suit and the shirt beforehand, so I had all my energy to just go all out on the deadlift. In the competition, I think my legs got a little bit of gassed out from maxing out squat, so then they just weren't helping me as much in the deadlift, in the transition of like where the suit stops helping you as much and you have to kind of finish through past the knees and lock it out. And then I did do the Open Nationals in 2017 when they were in Florida. Didn't do as well compared to the local meet, but I wasn't as focused as much on it. I was just kind of just like, hey, the meet's in Florida, it's a national meet, let me just go and do it, even if my numbers aren't going to be as good. During this whole time, even though sometimes I was more motivated and focused on just competing, and other times I was kind of like halfway focused and then my numbers weren't as good as hoping, I still always try to focus on obviously good technique and hitting the lifts to competition standards. So during this whole time of my powerlifting career, I've never missed a squat attempt in competition. I've always got a squat in, maybe one red light for depth like at Open Nationals, but I always made a good lift for all my squats. So I've only missed some third attempt benches and third attempt deadlifts. One time, I think Open National, my first deadlift, just like losing my balance, that kind of stuff. As well, when I first started in 2011, those first 3 meets, I made 9 for 9 every single meet. And then the first nationals in Killeen, 9 for 9, made all my lifts, which I believe is important. Something to take away is like when you're first starting, you want to build that momentum. So you want to make sure you're training in the gym to competition standards, whatever federation you're doing. And then you want to kind of go in with a more conservative approach, because you think you know how you're going to do under those settings, but you don't really know until you go. So you don't know how you're going to do with traveling, sleeping at maybe a hotel, having to wake up super early for weigh-ins, not being able to eat or drink until you do weigh in. For nationals, you might be traveling farther. International, you might be traveling to another continent. Maybe you've never traveled to another country before and ate their food, and maybe their time zone is different, and maybe their seasons are different, the weather, everything like that. So all those things are going to affect you. So especially early on, it's important to be conservative, focus on making attempts and building that momentum. So I was making all my attempts in my first 4 meets, and like I said, I was going from like an 850 total to 950 total, 1050 total, and then 12 something. I'm just slowly building myself up, regardless of what level you're at. You may be starting with a 1,500 pound total, or you may be starting at like 800 with me, but the focus is for you to just compare yourself to yourself, make your attempts, hit your low PR slowly along the way, and build your momentum to get you more experience and more confidence on the platform. You don't want to go into your first meet saying, oh, I have to hit these numbers, and you only make like 4 attempts, or you bomb out, you have a terrible experience, and then you never compete again. Since that 2017 Open Nationals, I've only basically done bench nationals, just because I've been focused on a lot of things: coaching, meet directing, refereeing, just lack of motivation, traveling a lot. Don't really care about my lifting as much since I've never been good. I just did it for fun and just kind of like break my own numbers, or maybe like a friend who is similar level to me, but I was never focused on making a national team, going to worlds, breaking any records or anything like that. So that's kind of just taking a back seat. So in 2018 and 2019, I just did bench nationals because I was already going to be there coaching people. It's easier to coach bench press and then compete in bench press versus to coach someone, especially loading weights on deadlift, and then try and compete in a full meet, especially equipped full meet. It really just destroys your lower back and you just kind of lose energy quick. So bench nationals is easy. I'm already going to be there coaching people, especially on the raw day, and then I'll just compete for fun in the equip the following day. So that's what I've done the past 2 years. We'll see what happens this year with all the changes going on, but most likely 2020 and going forward will just be bench nationals or maybe not compete, just because that's just not what I'm focused on as much anymore. But this kind of just gives you an idea of my progress from just lifting for fun at home and stuff, like whatever weights are around, body weight stuff, going to the gym, doing all the bro stuff, biceps and calves and abs and all that stuff, to non-sanctioned bench meet, non-sanctioned full power meet, USA PL meet, nationals, NAPF and beyond. All right, so that's basically it. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Kind of got an idea of how I came into the sport and what I've done in the sport, and maybe taking something away as far as, like I said, focusing on building that momentum when you initially start competing to gain that experience and confidence on the platform. All right, hope you have a good day.